All right, yes, round of applause. Thank you, Dan. Well, on behalf of Bowlers Pro Shop and of course Ebonite, we really do thank you all for coming out. Hope you had a good time, and I'll see you in the bar. What we want to do right now is have a little question and answer period. What that means is if you have any questions at all about bowling, about your game, maybe about one of your favorite pro bowlers, you'd like to know where he's at, why you haven't seen him for a while, or maybe any questions at all about bowling, I even know where the restrooms are. So hold your hands up real high. Whoever asks the first question, it's an all-expense-paid trip.
What's this? Let's make a deal?
Never mind, I'm not going to say it. I was told what to say, but I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to say it. So, who's got the first question? Don't be bashful. Can't you all really be bowling that good, can you? Yes, sir. What happened to Johnny Petraglia? Well, what happened to Earl Anthony? You just saw what happened to Earl Anthony. Johnny Petraglia is still bowling infrequently on the tour. Johnny's problem is that he feels that the PBA doesn't really do the lanes to his liking, and he doesn't seem to be able to get that through his mind. And he really has a mental block more than anything, that he can't score on the tour. He goes home and he bowls extremely well in tournaments in New York, comes on the tour, and he just doesn't seem to get it together. And I think it's more of a mental block for Johnny than anything else. I really do. He's a much better player than he's shown. Yes, sir.
What happened to Nelson Burke Jr.?
What else? What do you mean?
He isn't bowling anymore, is it?
Nelson Burke Jr. Is still doing the commentary for American Bowling Competition. ABC television. He never bowls the fall or the summer tour. He just bowls the winter tour, January through April. So if he should make the telecast, that's when you might see Dick Weber doing his commentating. Anybody else?
Yeah, right here.
Yes.
How many 300s have you had?
How many 300s have I had? I've had 30 in competition. How's my golf game? Well, it's not getting any better bowling. My golf game is fair. I'm playing about a 4 handicap right now, so it's better than my bowling right now. Yes, sir.
Buddy Beaumont.
What happened to Buddy Beaumont? Is that what you said? Do you know Buddy? Do you really? He's a hell of a man. He was one of the... You bowled with Buddy Beaumont in Chicago?
1940.
Buddy is hanging around a bowling center. I'm trying to remember the name of the place. It's a suburb of Chicago. He hangs around. You're not going to like this, but the guy that runs the place is left-handed. But he likes it there because he can score real good there. And the guy's name is Frank something. I can't remember the name. But it's no, it's in a suburb of Chicago. It's not in Chicago proper. It's a little... Forest Park? You sure about that? It sounded like, I thought it was like Oak Hills or something. Or maybe it is Forest Park. He probably knows more than I do. What's the guy's name? Frank? You remember? Anyway, that's where Buddy is. He's bowling there. He's bowling there all the time. He practices. He gets, you know, he's still bowling well. Yes, sir.
Think you'll ever get back into competition?
Will I ever go back into competition?
Yeah.
Only on the golf course. No, I retired from bowling 2 years ago this month, and as far as bowling again on the tour, I'm not going to do that. I might bowl the seniors tour when I'm eligible. You have to be 50 to bowl in the seniors. They have... I don't make the rules up, you know. You have to be 50, and they only have 2 tournaments now. But by the time I'm eligible to bowl in the seniors tour, hopefully they'll have 6 or 8 tournaments, which is about another 15 or 20 years. You can believe anything I say. Yes, sir. Pardon? Basic way to line up? Basic way to line up is for most people, if you go to a bowling center and you've never bowled there before, first thing to do is stand where you like to stand, aim at the target that you're most comfortable with, and throw the ball. And then base your adjustments on how that ball reacts. If it reacts really well, then you can stay right there. And you'll be very comfortable. It's your favorite shot, right? For example, if you like to play the second arrow, you walk in, throw the first ball of the second arrow, and it really goes down there real nice, then you're lined up. If it doesn't react well, look for the oil. Look for the oil in the first part of the lane. right? The first part, what you call the head area, the first 15 feet. Try to find oil there where the ball will skid, then roll, and then buzz. Look for that, whether it's outside or inside. But start where your favorite line is, because if you find that you can bowl in your favorite angle, normally you're going to bowl better.
What do you think about Colonial Lanes?
What do I think? I think they're great. I mean, you took a pretty nice shot out there, you got to admit, right?
Really?
If I could shoot 200, they got to be good, right? Okay. Anybody else?
Where's Earl Anthony's favorite shot?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Have I ever lost my interest in bowling? Yes, 2 years ago I lost my interest in bowling. That's why I'm not bowling anymore. Is that what you meant? Earlier? No, I didn't start bowling till late. I was a baseball player. I started bowling when I was 21. I became a professional when I was 31. And I bowled for a number of years on the tour. And during that period of time, I was very content and very happy throwing a bowling ball. But long toward the latter stages of that period, I lost interest and really didn't enjoy it anymore. And that's why I quit.
When you were active on the tour over the course of a year, how many games did you average regularly?
When I was active on the tour, how much did I practice a week? I didn't practice more than maybe 100 games a week while I was on the tour. While I was, actually in competition. When I was home getting ready to go on the tour for 2 weeks prior to the first tournament I was going to bowl, I'd average 30 to 40 games a day. A day, yeah. Yes.
What would you average when you get to the Pro Bowler Tour?
What do you need to average to be on the Pro Bowlers Tour? Well, the minimum requirements to be a professional bowler are very easy, really. You need to average 190 or better for your last 2 full league seasons. You need to be at least 18 years or older. You have to have a photograph of yourself, like an 8x10, a glossy black photograph you can send to the PBA. You fill out an application. It has to be signed by 3 members in good standing. You send all this in with a check for a couple $100, and you're accepted. And then you have to attend the members' school, which is a 2.5-day school. If you successfully pass that, you can bowl on the PBA Tour. If you then bowl in the regional program and win some money. If you don't win any money, they won't let you on the national tour. And then all you got to do once you get there is beat Roth and Holman and Webb. Nothing to it. Nothing to it. Yes, sir. Ever wish I was right-handed? Only when I turn a doorknob, drive a car, go to a restaurant. Just most of the time.
What does the school consist of?
The school consists of PBA history, current rules and regulations. They give you a speech on image, things like that. I don't know, somebody just... Mike, where you at? Mike, you just went... Did you just go to school?
Yeah.
Come out here a minute. Tell him what's in the school. He probably failed, so, he doesn't remember. Did you sleep through the school, or did you pay attention in the school?
Yeah, you got to.
What was going on in the school? Tell him what the curriculum was. I'm too old to remember.
The first thing was they had a motivation class. They had a speaker come in and teach how to motivate themselves.
Motivate yourself.
I'm not good at this.
They tell us how to cheat on our taxes.
Yeah, they tell you how to do your tax forms. They tell you how they do lane conditions, how they repair the lanes, how they put up shops.
What life is like on the tour.
Yeah, what life is like on the tour. They have a tour veterans come in and speak to you.
Carl will tell him your finances.
Go up here, buddy. Go ahead.
Come on, Cross.
Come on, Mike.
That's basically it, really. That's what it's all about. And they expect you then, after the end of a couple of days,
pay
to take
attention.
the test. And if you've paid attention at all, you don't have any problem passing the test. But as I mentioned before, the hard part is going out and trying to make some money. Yes, sir.
What do you think about these big money tournaments? It's kind of better to stay home and bowl a $1,000 entry tournament.
Only if you win. Okay, he says, what do you think about the big money tournaments? He's talking about these big shootouts where you put up $1,000. First place is $250,000. But first of all, before you get any of that money, you got to win 2 games. Now, if you lose your first or second game, there's $1,000 plus expenses down the window. It looks real good to look at $250,000. That's on top, or 200, or whatever it might end up being.
If you financially can't afford to go out on the big tour, making money in regionals are very difficult.
That's right. If you can't afford to go out on the national tour, if you're good enough to be on the tour, you should be able to find someone that can sponsor you. First of all, you have to prove to the people in the area where you live that your ability is such, by bowling well enough locally, that you're good enough to go on the national tour. If you can do that, you should be able to find a sponsor to get you on the tour. Once you get a sponsor, then you don't have to worry about the money anymore. You just go out and throw the bowling ball. But don't think that there's any comparison between the high rollers tournaments and being on the tour. There's no comparison, and there's an awful lot of luck involved. The guy that won that one recently in Las Vegas for $250,000, 22-year-old young man from Tacoma, Washington, which is my hometown. And he's a very good friend of my son's. And the young man, his high game was like 198 for 10 games. He just got lucky. All right, there was a lot of guys who bowled a lot better. So it's a very fortunate thing to win something like that. It takes a lot of luck. It really does. There's more luck than skill involved. Yes, sir.
Who do you feel the top 3 contenders are in the pro circuit right now?
The top 3 bowlers on the pro tour right now? I would say that the best bowler on the tour, now if you discount performance as far as money winnings and things like that right now, but ability-wise, in my judgment would be, number 1 would be Wayne Webb. Number 2 would be kind of a toss-up between Marshall Holman and Pete Weber. And number 3 would be Mike Albee. But he'd be third or fourth somewhere. He's the best left-hander on the tour, and the other 3 are probably, talent-wise, better than he is right now. But Mike is improving, yes.
What's your opinion of an intense bowler like Marshall Holman?
My opinion of an intense bowler like Mark, that's a nice word. An intense bowler, Marshall Holman. There's a gentleman for you right there. An intense bowler like Marshall. That's not what they call him out there. Let me tell you.
Charismatic.
Yeah, charismatic is not a good word they use either. No. They have a lot of other words they call him, but you just don't hear them. That's all. Marshall has been good for the tour. He really has, because he's created a lot of excitement. It's not something. It's not an act. It's Marshall Holman. That's what you see is what you get. That's the real Marshall Holman. He's not just like that on the lanes. He's like that in the restaurants. He doesn't like the food. He throws it on the floor. That's Marshall Holman. But he's been good for the tour because like I said, he's created a lot of excitement. He's created a lot of interest. Whether you love the guy or hate him, you're going to watch. You're going to watch if you like him to see if he wins. You're going to watch if you don't like him to hope he loses. So people watch, right? But he's been his own worst enemy for the same reason, because of his mental attitude and his emotional instability. Marshall is capable of, at this point, should have won 30 events, and he's only won like 17. And only because he beats himself emotionally. That's a shame, really. That much talent going to waste. Yes, sir.
Well, I have a question for you. The last couple of years, the PGA Golf Tour had started the Seniors Tour. There was a big success. Now the PGA is over the Seniors Tour, their own Big Weather and Diamond other tour. What do you feel about that? Will you ever have any second thoughts to any other people to back things?
Entering the Seniors Tour events?
Right.
Well, like I said, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. The PGA is forming a Seniors Tour. Right now they have 2 events. If they were to get that up to 8 or 10 events, I might consider it. But it's such a long way in the future before I'm eligible. See, you have to be 50. But I've got a lot of time to think about it. So by that time, I could change my mind 8 or 10 times. See, so I'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Yes, sir. Whatever happened to Don Johnson? Don Johnson refused to go. Well, first of all, 2 things happened to Don Johnson. First of all, he hurt his thumb really severely. He couldn't even hold a bowling ball. He would swing it back and he would lose it. He just couldn't hold on to the bowling ball. So he left the tour for a few years. He came back when he had some doctors working on it with all kinds, from acupuncture to you name it. They did everything. He finally got to the point where he could grip the ball and release it, but he couldn't bowl like the old Don Johnson, which was a shame because he had so much talent. He did bowl on a tour again for a while, and then they asked him to go to the PBA school, and Don Johnson refused to go. If you don't go to the school, you can't compete on the PBA tour. And so now he is running the Don Johnson bowling camps and giving instructions, and he lives in Las Vegas. Okay? Yes, sir.
Whatever happened to Dave Davis? He doesn't compete.
An old left-hander. Thanks a lot. Okay. Whatever happened to Dave Davis? Dave Davis still competes, but sporadically, much in the same manner as Johnny Petraglia. He has the same mental attitude as Johnny Petraglia. He feels there's nothing on the left, and the right-hander's got all this room, and you hear it every day. So he just is mentally defeated before he gets up on the approach. Dave Davis's ability is outstanding, and there's no reason that he or Johnny Craig couldn't make a lot of money on the tour if they would go out there with a fresh mental attitude. But how do you give that to them? They have so much talent, and it's all going to waste. It's a shame. He still works for Brunswick. He does a lot of traveling for the Brunswick Bowling Ball Company, and he owns a bowling center in Tinton Falls, New Jersey, which is where he spends most of his time with his wife, Joanne, who is a lovely lady. Yes, sir.
Do you give certain bowling towel, crying towels to the bowlers that lose?
Do what?
Give, like, Petraglia or whoever.
Crying.
Yeah, when they
Oh, you do that if you want. They're too big for me.
They give excuse.
Earl,
Yeah, anybody down here?
I got a question. What's been your on the tour your highest point and at the same time your lowest point while bowling? Yeah.
The same tournament or
Well,
same
no.
day, or
You know, overall.
What's been my best
feet.
moment and my worst
Yeah.
moment as a professional bowler? Probably my best moment was when I won the national championship and went over the $1 million mark. And that was in Toledo in 1980. What year was that? 2. Okay, thank you. And my worst moment was when I joined the tour. No, my worst moment was probably several times it happened, and it's always such a really big emotional down to lead a tournament by 400 or 500 pins and lose to the guy in 5th place on television. It just beats you to death. You know, it takes a long time to recover from that. That's the worst moment, and it's happened to me several times.
This is while being the tournament leader.
Being the tournament leader, going on television, leading over 2nd place by 400 or 500 pins, actually winning the tournament by 400 or 500, and then losing in one game on television to a guy that's saying 4th or 5th, that's 900 pins behind you. Yes, sir.
How about some of your old-timers?
What old timers? Who? Lou Campy, Wrongfoot Louie.
Salvino, I think.
No, Salvino was here. He'd come beat up. If you said he was an old timer, he'd beat you up. Well, Carmen's alive and doing well. I don't know much about Lou. I haven't seen him for quite a while. Carmen is bowling on the seniors tour and on the regular tour and still doing quite well. He won the first seniors championship last year when he was eligible at 50. This year he's 51 and he's bowling, and he was in 2nd or 3rd place or 4th or 5th or something like that. And they're still bowling in Canton, Ohio right now.
The reason why I say that, they're bowling against most of those guys up north.
Oh, did you? Well, Lou Campy's somewhere up in northern New York, so I can tell you.
So they can kill you.
Yeah, you betcha. They sneak up on you is what they do. Yes, sir.
You talked about a new bowler going on a pro tour and needing a sponsor for him to be able to relax and concentrate on bowling. What are you talking about an average year's cost to put a new bowler out on a tour?
Okay, good question. He says, what does it cost to sponsor a bowler on the PBA tour? Well, you can figure that there are an average of normally 35 events per year that a young player can enter. If he is eligible to bowl on the tour, he can enter at least 35 events a year. Each event is at least a week long. So that's 35 weeks on the road. And you're looking at an average cost for a single guy for entry fees, travel expenses. Now, when you think of travel, he's got to get to the tournament site. He has to have a motel to live in. He has to eat. He has to clean his clothes. He has to buy new bowling balls. All these things add up to quite a bit of money. So you're looking at about $600 if he just kind of gets along. $600 a week for the rookie player. Now, if he's married and he has a wife at home, add on the cost of supporting the family, whatever that might be. So you can add at least $200 to $300 a week onto that. So you're looking at $8, $9, maybe $1,000 a week. So that's about your basic cost. Somewhere between $20,000 to $35,000 a year is what you're looking at. And that's what the sponsor has to come up with. And normally when they sponsor a player on the tour, they're looking at somewhere between 50-50 to 70-30 split. By that I mean, say the sponsor puts up $30,000 for the bowler to go on the tour. He'll put that in the bank account. The bank sends a check to the bowler every week while he's on the tour. Whatever money the bowler makes on the tour, he sends that check back to the bank. That's deposited in the account. At the end of the year, whatever it's in the account, the sponsor gets his $30,000 back first, and what's left over, say if the bowler made $100,000, so there's $70,000 left. They'd split it, say 60 for the bowler, 40 for the sponsor. So the sponsor would make his $28,000, the bowler would make his $32,000 or $42,000, and that would be it. But the sponsor always gets his money back first. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Earl, when you're in competition, who do you feel is your toughest competitor on the tour?
My toughest competitor on the tour. Well, over the years, I bowled 14 years on the tour as a touring player, and there were a lot of really fine players. The best clutch player I ever bowled against, in other words, if you got up in the 10th frame and needed a double to beat you, Don Johnson. The most competitive bowler, Dick Weber. He was always out there. Now, I don't care if he was in 24th place, he was trying to get first. One game to go, he still thought he had a chance to win. You know? That's Dick Weber. He never gives up. Probably the most explosive and the guy that can just blow you out of the building, Mark Rock. The guy that can beat himself the most, Marshall Holmes. Pardon?
When Mark bowled, he has so much trouble with his thumb, it hurts his bowling.
No, Mark really, he mentioned that Mark had a lot of thumb problems. Mark didn't have any thumb problems the last 8 or 9 years. He had those early in his career, and once that he worked with Larry Lichtenstein, the guy that drills the balls on the tour for the pros, got some pitches that he could use. Excuse me. Good Canadian club. He never had a problem after that. Mark since that, but he used his left-hand pitch and thumb, and since that time he's never had a problem. So he could bowl, you know, very well, not having any hand problems. Anybody else? We've got time for about 300 more. Yes.
Did you ever run into any lane conditions that you absolutely couldn't handle?
Any lane conditions I absolutely couldn't handle? Well, I hit one today. Well, there's always some of those. The lane condition I have the most trouble with is when they're just, and I think most of us do, when they're just really no oil at all. When they are just hooking when you let go of the ball, and you lay it here and it's in this channel before it even gets past the arrows. I mean, that's hooking, you know. I don't like them like that. I'm just too old and too tired to throw it that hard, you know. I just never could bowl well on extremely dry lane conditions.
How do you
Other than that, I can usually find a way to at least hit the pocket.
How do you read the lane conditions?
How do I read them?
Yeah, for an amateur league bowler going into a thing, how does he learn to read the lanes?
That's a good question. For the amateur or the average league bowler coming into the bowling center, how do you find the shot on the lanes? How do you read the lanes? Well, we basically talked about that a few minutes ago, and you asked a good question about the lane conditions. All right. What you do, as I mentioned earlier, is first play your favorite shot. Then look for the oil. Now, what I mean by looking for the oil, look for a place on the